Welcome to today's practice. And I'm imagining that we're going to have a little play with some twists in the body. Twisting postures are fantastic for the spine because, we sometimes carry more tension on one side or one shoulder's more elevated. And so it's nice to kind of play with those and see perhaps where you hold some of your tension, but also to try to iron out and give you some more evenness in your body. They're also great for your inner organs because we do poses where we cross over and squeeze through, like the abdominals, and it's helpful for digestion. So, with that, enjoy the practice and let us get started. If you happen to have a bolster or pillows, what's really nice is putting the bolster on a diagonal. So when you come down, you extend your arms out shoulder length, you bend the knees in and bring them onto a bolster. So for me, this bolster is nice and high and comfortable. And I'll show you on the blocks as well and other pillows. But of course, depending on what you feel, you can bring the legs down lower if that's where you need to start with this twist. And actually, each layer of this twist is going to give you a slightly different stretch. So you can stay with the knees further away from the hand for a few breaths, and then you can bring them up a little bit higher. So that for me is a little more intense, but it also feels pretty good too, an opening. So if you don't have that, you can always take your towel or your blanket and you can always fold that up and use that to support. It's really about supporting the shins, because most of us, to start with, to bring the legs down to the floor, it's going to be hard to bring the opposite shoulder down. And for a really nice twist, we want to stabilize. So here's a pose that stabilizes our upper body so we can create mobility in our lower body. And so that's where you really bring the arms out and then the legs out. And then with the block, same thing. You can just rest your legs on the block. If you have two blocks, you can make it like a bolster and longer. So whichever way you have to do this, you can bring the knees down a little bit to start with, as I said early on, and then you can bring them up a little higher. So what's happening is you might feel a stretch through that opposite armpit and also in your side waist and perhaps your lower back or maybe your hip area. So each of us is going to feel it somewhere different. And this really opens or exposes, I should say, exposes towards the ceiling our whole left side lung. So I have my knees to the right side, and that really opens that area so that when you're breathing, a nice focus in the breath. You can either focus on really breathing and feeling how you've got that length from the shoulder blade all the way down the hip, or you can really focus on just feeling into your side rib cage. So this is also going to hopefully create some space in your side waist. And you can also use your imagination to imagine the sit bone lengthening towards the wall away from you. So you're trying to create as much space in that whole side body. And since I've been here a few minutes, I want to bring my knees up a little higher, see what that gives me. So you want to stay enough within your comfort range, and then you want to find your edge. What's your edge where you're not tensing up and holding your breath? Where can you go a little bit more into the discomfort? And that's going to be different for everybody. And then I've done a lot of explaining on this side, so you've probably been holding it for a while on this side. Now you want to inhale, bring your knees up, and then whichever prop you were using, you want to bring to the other side. So I was using my blocks. And because when I was teaching at the gym and we mostly had blocks and we didn't have bolsters, we used blocks instead of bolsters for a lot of poses that maybe in other schools I might have used bolsters for. So it's great if you have a block today for today's practice. And if not, you can find some big, thick book perhaps, or maybe you have a little stool. Actually, I should show my little stool because those are not very expensive and you can find them all kinds of places, because that could be handy. So I will bring the stool out as we go into the practice. So if you have something like that around, that's going to help us today, because we're going to play a little bit with standing poses and try and experience what happens in a twist when we do standing poses in a twist. So again, feeling the length in that right side down the right sit bone, and really grounding through the upper body so the shoulder blades and arms are onto the floor. And then inhale, lift the legs up, and then just so happens that the little stool is here. So I have this little stool. So if you have something like this in your house, this can come in handy in some poses, and later on I will probably demonstrate how the stool can be used instead of a block. So you can see that this stool is even higher than two blocks that are stacked like this on each other. So you become very creative when you do your yoga practice at home. So now come back to laying on the floor, hands next to your hips, and we'll do some abdominal awakening here. And feel free to play around with the arm positions if you want to support your head or bring the arms overhead. You can do that, and we'll just inhale the knees into the chest and really extend up through the heels, bending the knees towards the chest, softening the feet into the floor. So we are doing abdominal focus here, but also we're stretching the legs out because we just had the knees bent for a little while. And then we're really pressing the lower back and widening that sacrum into the floor here. So most poses, while they might have a major focus, usually have many other things happening. So it's much more complex than just addressing one particular body system or one particular part of the body. There's much more involved. So again, with this pose, you can play with the speed if you want to go quickly and do more reps, or you can slow it way down and see what kind of impact that has for you. And you can do a little bit of both. You can slow it way down, or you can do quite a few just to get that rep going. See how that goes for you. And then do 2 more in whatever way you're doing it. And then bring the feet down and release the arms next to you. And if you want to release the pelvis a little bit, you can lift up on the heels and just shake the pelvis out. And then we'll take that first pose and do it as an abdominal pose. So we'll bend the knees into the chest and bring the knees towards the right hand. And you're trying to keep the ankles, knees, feet together as you bring it over. And you're also not bringing it down low like this. You're bringing it up towards the hand. So you might have to be up a little higher if you have difficulty maintaining the pose here with the shoulder down. Now you're going to extend that left leg so the foot's going towards the hand, and then extend the bottom leg to meet it, working back into those left side abdominals, and then bending the knees, bringing the knees back to the center. And then on your next exhale, bring the knees towards the left side. Again, you're trying to bring the knees up towards the left hand. And then extend the top foot, so the right foot towards the left hand, and then the left one to meet it, working back into the right side abdominals. And then bending the knees, bringing the knees back to the center, softening the feet to the floor, and a couple of breaths here. And again, if you need to shake it out, shake it out. And then this time when we go into the pose, we're going to do it slightly differently. And sometimes doing a pose in a different way is just giving your body different information, and you can learn something new or feel something different in your body that might work better for you. So I give you some options, and I want you to work with what works well for your body. So press the heels up and just slightly shift the pelvis towards the left. And then this time when you bend your knees up, they should be already going on the diagonal to the right arm. And then extend that bottom leg. So the right foot's going to the right hand. And now the top leg to meet it. Again, working back into those left side abdominals. Then bending the knees, coming back to the center. And place the feet down and bring the pelvis back to neutral to the center. And then press the heels and shift it slightly to the right side, so that when you bend your knees up, they're already going towards the left hand. And then straighten the bottom leg first, and then the top foot to meet it, working back into those right side abdominals. And then bending the legs and coming back to the center and releasing the feet down. And again, you can press into the feet and just shift the pelvis around if it's feeling a little bit tight. And then slowly roll to your side and come up to all fours. And we'll do that diagonal so that we get, so now the pelvis will stay stable and the upper body can do a bit of a twist. So take the right arm towards the left side, and then the left hand you can roll more towards the shoulder, or you can roll away from it, just depending on what stretch feels right to you today. So now we're stabilizing the lower body to get a little bit of a twist in the upper body. And then inhale, slowly come up to all fours. And then take the left hand to the other side. And then you're pressing into that hand. And then inhale, coming up to all fours. Now, if you have your block or book, or if you've got a bench, just have it nearby, because I'll show you a couple of options in the next pose. So you're going to swing that right foot between your hands, and then bring the hands up onto the thigh for a bit of a lunge. But we're also going to do a side stretch here. So with blocks, you can, so I have my right leg forward. So if I start with my right hand on the outside and then come into a side stretch here. And this is where if I needed the bench, I could put the bench here for a little more height. Again, you can also just put your forearm on your thigh if you have nothing to put the hand down, and get a bit of a stretch. And then bring that hand down and come to the other side. And again, if you have no Crocs, you can just place the forearm on the thigh and bring the other arm open. And this is where you really have to press into your front foot and your back shin to find that stability. Or if you have the hand, you bring it on the block and you come into that stretch. And then swing the right leg back. And then bring the left foot between. And again, there's several ways to do this stretch. So we'll start with either the left forearm on the thigh and the right arm comes over, or the right hand can be on the block. And then inhale, coming up, and either the right forearm on the thigh, left arm comes up, or the hand can come down on the block. And this is a pose that, you know, I think would be great in the morning, sort of waking up the body, getting a bit of stretch in the side body, but also in the hip flexors. And then bring that leg back. And then tuck your toes under and go into a downward facing dog. And then bring the knees down and go into big toes together, knees wide. And then inhale, coming up again, tuck the toes under, downward facing. And then for a little variation in downward dog, you can walk the feet closer and take the right hand and hang out towards the left side. You still want to keep the right side waist open, so you're just sort of hanging out over there. You're not really doing too much of a twist. You can also bring the hand up to the thigh if that works better, and then come back down with both hands down. This is a shorter downward dog than usual. Shorter as in less space between the hands and the feet. And then bring the left hand to the thigh or the calf or the ankle and just hang to that side. And then the hands back down and the knees down into big toes together, knees wide. Couple of breaths. And then inhale, slowly come up. Tuck the toes under. And start walking the feet towards your hands. And then you can slowly roll up the spine. And you can stay standing where you are, or you can stand facing me. I'm just going to stand facing you so that I can show you the next pose. You're going to bring the arms overhead and take your, this is my left hand, thumb and first finger, hold the right wrist, and then you're just pressing the feet down and getting some side space in the side, and then keeping the feet stable. You can twist the chest just a little bit up to the ceiling. And then inhale, coming up, release the arms down. And then for the other side, right thumb and first finger, holding the left wrist, stretching out to the right side. Then just twisting the chest a little bit up to the ceiling, the head looking up, getting a more lift in the chest. And then coming back up and releasing the arms down. And then we'll stand to the front of the mat and do some other standing poses. I just wanted to stand that way so you could see me, although it's always interesting to do poses in different angles for what it might look like. So now we're gonna put the hands on the hips, take the left foot long behind you, make sure the toes are turned in. Now you want that instep to line up with the heel. We're going to go into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Now, if you have that bench or that block, you can have it right over there behind you. Put your hand on, which is, I'm going to try this, which is actually quite nice. If not, you can still put the hand on the shin, and then the top arm can come up. You're okay in the head, the neck. You really use those abdominals, and it's a slight little twist looking up to the top hand. And then to come out of it, inhale, slowly come up. You can bring the hands back on the hips, and then bring that back leg to meet the front leg. Of course, using the bench means I have to put it on each side. That's why we like two blocks, you know, so you can just have them on both sides. Now take the right leg long behind you and line it up with the instep. And then I have this little foot, that's actually a footstool, isn't it? It's not really a bench, but it could be a bench. And then lengthen through your sides, bring the top arm up, looking up to the top hand if your head and neck are okay. And then inhale, slowly come up, hands on the hips, bringing that back leg in. And then I'm going to leave the bench on this side and show you how we can work it in a twist. And if you can't, you don't have any props, don't worry about it. I'll just direct you to where you can put your hand. So again, take the I guess I should have put it on the other side. Take the left leg back. And so we're in the triangle pose, but then you're going to pivot around. If you're having trouble, you can turn the foot in more. And then it does have to be on this side. And then this time, you're going to really reach that left arm, so that's connected to the back leg. Come long in front of you. So you're trying to bring those hips even. And then you can bring the hand over to that bench or block, or you can just bring it on your shin. Now here you can leave the right hand on your sacrum and just try to get that shoulder pointing up to the ceiling. And then inhale, bringing that arm up. Hands to the hips, bringing that back leg in. So you can see a bit of what's required from the abdominals in a twist pose. And then take the left leg long behind you. So you start facing in triangle, and then you pivot the hips around, bring the right arm up, reach forward first, trying to bring the hips around, and then find that place for your hand or the shin. And the other hand can be on the sacrum, and you're trying to get this left shoulder up. And you can look down if you need to, but really engage the legs and the abdominals here. And then unwind, bring the hands on the hips and bring that foot forward. That's probably bringing the heat up a little bit. And then we're going to go into a variation of Warrior 3 pose. So that we can come into the Ardha Chandrasana pose. Now what you can do is, if you've got the bench or you've got a chair, you can just put the hands down and use that to keep the back long, and then just raise the left leg up, so Warrior 3 pose. See if you can find the length between the head and the tail here. And again, if you didn't have the bench, you could bring the hands on the thighs or the hips and see if you can stay there. The bench just probably gives you more stability, or a chair. And then bring that leg down. And if you need to bend the knees a little bit and release, you can do that. And then it's nice to just find the length here in half Uttanasana. And then slowly really connect into the left leg, really lifting the front thigh, and bring the right leg up. And then bring that foot down, and then come back to standing for a couple of breaths, because then we're going to do Ardha Chandrasana, Parivita Ardha Chandrasana, so it's a bit of a twist. And this will help warm up into that pose. So again, come into half Uttanasana. Hands can be on the hips, or if you've got this little stool, this is really great. So the first thing you'll do is go through Warrior 3 pose. If you want to go further in the twist, you bring the left hand in the middle and the right hand on the sacrum, And the last bit is bringing the right hand up. And then slowly come back around, bring that foot down. And you can release the knees. You need a little bit of stretch there. And then again, straighten the legs into half Uttanasana. Bring the right leg up. Right hand in the middle. Left arm comes up. And then coming back around, leg down. You can release the head here, shake it out a little bit. Hands can be on the legs. And then slowly come up. So whatever you have, you can sit on. That gives you a little bit of height. Really bring those legs forward in Dandasana. And because I'm a little higher, I can reach my fingertips, but I can't get my hands on the floor here. Now, you're going to shift. I'll have to turn around. So you're going to swing the legs to the right side so that the foot opens where that you place the right foot in the instep. So the right leg is in Virasana. And that, see how sitting on the edge of the bolster allows my right sit bone to drop. If I was just sitting directly on the floor, do you see that I would be yanking up that side? So the extra help, and I'll show it with a block too, but you can just roll a towel there as well. So I can sit this way. And then you're going to take the left hand around to that right knee. And then because I have this block here, I can put my hand here. Same thing with the bolster, is I can bring my hand to the outer part of the bolster and get a really great stretch through the shoulder. So you want to start the twist down at the abdominals, and then it comes up through the shoulders. Now, as far as the chin, you want to keep the chin level. You don't want to yank it up, and you don't want to yank it down. And if you can start to bring the chin over the shoulder. And meanwhile, this upper arm, you're trying to bring that shoulder blade down so that you get that opening. And then release that side. I'll come and sit this way now. So we've brought the legs over to the right side. Now we'll bring them over to the left side. So bend the knees over. And again, the top leg, so you can see it from this angle. It's good for me to demonstrate it, and I'll demonstrate it sideways. That's what I'll do next. So as you can see, this shin is long in Virasana. So just for fun, trying to think of which way I should sit. I'll sit this way, so, oh no, I'm on the wrong way. I've probably got the legs on the wrong side too. So yeah, this is the way we need to do it, right? Anyway, so now it's the right hand out, and then the left hand comes around. And so you can see me from this angle, that this hand is down towards the knee. You can also bring the palm open if that helps you with your shoulders. And then this hand for me can go on that outer edge of the bolster. And then of course the chin, you don't want it down and up. You want to start to just bring it over. And then you want to slowly come around, release that. A couple of breaths here. And then come back into Dandasana. And if you're okay with sitting straight up and down, you can, but if you need height, take height on a blanket or a block. And then we will do Marichyasana 3. So that's bend the right shin towards the chest. This will be more for the abdominals, holding onto that shin. So by doing this, we're trying to lengthen the spine and not fall back. We're bringing those, gluing those abdominals almost onto that thigh. And then take the left arm around, and here's where you can hold it. And you can stay here for quite some time, just allowing the body to settle into this pose. And then of course I will change my angle just for help's sake. And then if you want, you can go further and bring the right arm behind like a kickstand, and then the left arm to the outer thigh. And I'll turn around this way too, so you can see this angle. And then slowly unwind and go the other way. So I'm going to bring in my left knee, and I'll just show you from this angle, holding on to that shin for a few breaths, getting the body used to it. So you don't want to be collapsing down. You're trying to find that length. And then you can wrap the right arm around and hold the elbows, or just put one forearm on top of the other. Just really squeeze those abdominals in here. And it can be perfectly fine just to stay right here in the pose. And then if you feel like you want to go further, you can bring the left hand behind you and the right elbow on the edge, and then squeeze those abdominals into the thigh. And then slowly come back to center. And if you just want a little release, you can come down and hold on to the shins a little bit and just get a little bit of lower back massage. Almost do little circles like this in both directions. And then find whatever Shavasana you want to do today. And remember that every day and every moment of the day, you can remind yourself to take a breath. If you're feeling busy, you're feeling like you're scattered, like many thoughts are coming in, you can remind yourself, oh, what's happening in my breath? And just by focusing on your breath, it can often help you return to your center, or remind yourself perhaps that you're holding your breath maybe. And that simple act of a conscious breath as opposed to just a
automatic breath can help you throughout your day. So as you notice your breath, also begin to notice where your attention is in your body. After that practice, you might want to notice first, how is your abdominals? Perhaps you want to feel a softening in that whole digestion, all your organs that help digest your food, but also take toxins out of your body and also nourish you in so many ways. So you just might want to imagine that whole abdominal region with all those organs just becoming more spacious. And then perhaps there's another area where your attention is being drawn. And just notice if you can take your breath there, or if you can just imagine your breath in that space. So when you inhale, the area really expands, the skin stretches, and when you exhale, that whole area softens. So when you inhale, that area where you're imagining or taking your breath there directly expands, and when you exhale, it softens. And then see if you're drawn to any other area in the body. Can you feel all of your body as a totality? Can you feel your skin, your edges, your outline? And of course, if that directive doesn't work for you, just drop it and return to focusing either on your breath or softening into a particular area of your body. And if you can feel the outline of your body, can you feel that outline just grow slightly? So it fills up with your breath and body. and slowly becoming aware of your breath. Bringing attention to the inhale and the exhale. And then bringing some movement into your fingers, your toes, your hands and feet. And then you can slowly find a stretch that moves you up to sitting in an easeful way without rushing or without dragging your body, finding that ease to come up to sitting. And again, remembering throughout your full day that anytime you need a pause, just notice what's happening in your breath. How is your inhale? How is your exhale? And perhaps even the pauses in the inhale and the exhale at the end of each. See if that helps you return to a focus or attention. And thank you for being here. And namaste, and have a beautiful day.